Hello, Brian here, and thank you for tuning in to episode 6 of my 2020 to 2021 recruiting guide. Today, we're going to take a step back from resumes, which is a topic we covered in episode 5, and towards its partner in crime in the recruiting and application process, the cover letter. That is, how can we craft a killer cover letter that will surely get the attention of a recruiter? As always, if you're looking for more resources beyond this video, feel free to contact me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or by email, and of course check out my Substack, which is my personal newsletter. My Substack basically is my YouTube channel, but in a more written format. That's advice on everything from college to post-college, as well as internships and full-time jobs. You could also type in brianwong.substack.com to reach my Substack, in addition to finding the link on my channel description. And of course, on my YouTube channel, in my videos, in the description below, you can take a look at the resources I posted there. I will always post my slides, and that will be accessed by a bit.ly link, and it will cover topics from networking to resumes corresponding to the video that I'm covering. These slides are presented in a more visual format. And in my pinned comment section, you could look at these same resources. I'll always include them for more visibility and accessibility, and you can check them out whenever you want, however you want. So, with that said, let's jump straight into it. In today's video, we're going to be going over 4 key areas into how we could craft a killer cover letter. First, getting started. What is a cover letter? And then second, we're going to move into the building blocks and elements of a strong cover letter. Third, we're going to go over a cover letter checklist for things to do. And then fourth and finally, we're going to go over a cover letter anti-checklist or things not to do when writing or proofreading your cover letter. So with that said, what exactly is a cover letter? Like I previously mentioned in the last video with resumes, recruiters will really spend anywhere from 10 seconds to at most 1 minute looking at your cover letter, just like they did with your resume. And so, in your cover letter, typically you will only use 1 page, no more than 5 paragraphs, to explain your life story, why you're here, why you're interested in the firm and the position, and why you are the best fit for them. And just to preface, I do want to mention that, just like in my previous video on resumes, this video will not go into too much detail, if any at all, on the design aspects and elements of a strong cover letter. If you want to learn more about how to design your cover letter and make it more aesthetically pleasing, I'd be more than happy to invite some of my friends and experts in design to help us give the rundown of what exactly to do. So, without further ado, I'm going to start off with the essential building blocks and paragraphs of a strong cover letter. Paragraphs 1 to 2. This will serve as a memorable introduction to who you are and why you're here. This is up to the individual, but typically in paragraph 1, you introduce yourself, and then in paragraph 2, you introduce your interest in the position, team, and company. In the first paragraph, you may want to share information on your major, your school, and your choice of school and major. Oftentimes, people like to put in what's called a hook. That is an interesting introduction that helps you stand out from other applicants. Some people start off with a self-deprecating joke. Other people start off with a story of a time they were a child and they did X, Y, and Z. To be perfectly honest, I think the hook is something that's not always necessary. Remember, they're only spending 10 seconds to 1 minute, so you kind of want to get to the point as quickly as possible. But with that said, the cover letter is really your baby, and it's really up to you to structure your approach. At the end of the day, your voice is the one thing that needs to shine out and stand out the most. So, if you want to do that through a hook, which is oftentimes the easiest way to do it, then by all means, go for it. Personally, in my cover letters, I usually cut straight to the chase. I'm quite vanilla in my approach, and I found that to work for me, but obviously, different strokes for different folks. Then, in the second paragraph, expressing your interest can be broken down in a couple of ways. You could talk about the firm's initiatives and projects and which ones excite you. You could also talk about the people in the firm. If you do have a referral or if you have friends or mentors inside the firm, this is a great time to point them out and explain what you've learned from them and how they've inspired you and why they're a big reason why you're applying to the company and to that specific position. Now we're moving on to the third paragraph. This is where you talk about your main story that outlines a specific accomplishment or experience that's relevant to the position you're applying to. Your first 2 paragraphs focus on why them. Now it's time to focus on why you, and what skills you could bring to the table and how you could contribute to the team and wider enterprise. This paragraph is much more dense than any other paragraph you may write in your cover letter, but the reason why I suggest you use only 1 paragraph is because it forces you to be concise and creative with how you manage your time, space, and words. You really can't go off on a tangent. they're only spending 10 seconds to 1 minute, as I may remind you for the 10th time perhaps in this video, and so your time is really strapped. You got to get to the point as quickly and concisely as possible. To this, I suggest you read up and brush up on the job description, pick out its most important qualifications and skills that the recruiters and the managers are looking for, and then tie one of your specific stories and experiences into that very quality and experience. Inventory all your experiences, projects, and accomplishments into one master doc. Originally, we used this to kind of build our resume piece by piece as we tailored it to fit any possible conceivable job description and role. Now, you're going to take that same master doc and apply it to the cover letter. So if you're applying to a consulting position at Accenture, you're definitely going to want to pick a story that highlights maybe your leadership skills in a student club or organization, how you conducted market research in an internship with a startup or an established Fortune 500 company. No matter what experience you pick, make sure that it ties with the job description and the actual job role itself. And in case you didn't get the hint, yes, this does mean that you have to craft a unique custom cover letter for every single role you apply to. Unfortunately, just like with the resume, you can't get away with a simple copy-paste. The recruiters will know, and by creating a specific custom story that actually fits the job description, you will be able to stand out because the recruiters, if they take the chance to read your cover letter, will know that you put the effort to try to stand out. So, once we've got the third paragraph out of the way, it's time to move into paragraphs 4 and 5. Honestly, these paragraphs could be smushed into one because basically these paragraphs are your conclusion and call to action. Paragraph 4 can be your conclusion, which is where you re-emphasize your passion and interest for the role and the company and the opportunity, with your 5th paragraph, which could ostensibly be merged into your 4th paragraph, is your call to action. Telling the recruiter how excited you are for this opportunity and how excited you are to move along with the recruiting process. Embodying that passion and excitement, even as you end your cover letter, will show your recruiter that you really care about this role. And with a lot of copy-paste cover letters, you don't really get this excitement. So you could really help yourself stand out by having a strong finish to your killer cover letter. So now we have a general idea of how we want to structure our cover letter, with the 5 paragraphs in place that will help structure our story from the beginning to its end. So we had the blueprint. Now it's time to actually find the building blocks in which we could build and craft our killer cover letter. For starters, here are some questions you should ask yourself before writing your letter. How does your work experience meet the job requirements? How do your skills meet the job's requirements? And why do you want to work at the firm and organization that you're applying to? Your letter needs to provide this information in a span of only 5 paragraphs and leave the recruiter absolutely convinced that not only are you the right fit for this role professionally and technically, but also culturally and in terms of passion, interest, and love for the actual company and role you're applying to. So how do we exactly build this story? Well, step 1, do your research. Research the job description and understand what they're looking for. What's the day-to-day like? What are the skills and requirements that they're looking for? What will be your major tasks, goals, and responsibilities? Coffee chats and networking will help you answer all these questions and more. In those cases where you're not able to network or coffee chat, check out Glassdoor, Wall Street Oasis, or other secondary sites that help aggregate information about these companies and about these roles. By conveying this level of detail in your cover letter and in your interviews, which will be a topic for another video, you'll really help yourself stand out from the pack. The recruiters and your interviewers will know that you really did your due diligence and that you really did your homework. Not many do, and in doing this, you will truly stand out. Step 2, hone in on your story. Once you've identified what the recruiter and the job description is looking for, pinpoint one story, one project, experience, and/or accomplishment you could use as the crux of your 3rd paragraph in your cover letter. Hypothetically, let's say you're applying for an associate product management internship for Twitter. And after conducting your due diligence, you observe the following bullet points on what Twitter says it looks for when recruiting new full-time APMs. So you can see that that's a whole lot of qualifications. It's a very rigorous job, and it's a job that requires a great deal of skills, both technical and non-technical, as well as experiences leading teams and leading products. Among other things, the job description mentions a preference for technical majors, prior experience in product management or related fields, and strong communication skills. You could then pick out these 3 areas as the core focus of your story. Or you could pick completely different areas. I would suggest 3 and no more than 5. Any less won't be compelling, and any more could be too overwhelming. Here's an example of how I would tackle this task. I would think about my previous roles, both in student orgs or in other internships or other roles in volunteering community service and leadership, and then all those experiences, pick one that encapsulates 3 or 5 core qualities that Twitter is looking for in its APM interns. In particular, I'm going to choose a story that emphasizes my experience and skills in communication and presentation, in leadership and cross-functional teamwork, in an ability to plan and drive decision-making using data, the ability to plan and drive execution on a new product, and fifth and finally, a passion for the media space. For instance, in my previous role as marketing manager for my school newspaper, I led a team of 10 associates in prototyping, designing, and launching our first ever mobile application. We worked with design and software engineering to develop and prototype our initial user interface. And we tested our user experience by running multiple user research studies among students on campus. We were able to rapidly iterate our app from concept to product by looking at user demands and pain points. As we were building our product, I was also meeting with multiple internal stakeholders within the wider organization, editorial, and even within business, sales, design, and finance. By meeting with board members, editors, and other business managers, as well as our editor-in-chief, I was able to build cross-functional, interdepartmental support for the mobile app, and we were able to convince our board ultimately to help finance the project and commit the fiscal resources to fully launch our product on campus and even beyond. The final step and the third is to adapt your tone. For instance, if you're applying to a 2-day-old startup, your tone could definitely be a bit more unceremonious. It could definitely be a bit more friendly, casual than, say, your tone in a cover letter for a 200-year-old legacy law firm. So, as you apply to jobs and you begin to have a feel of the company's culture through coffee chats, networking, or by looking at their Glassdoor reviews, you'll be able to have a sense of what their culture is like, as well as the kind of voices and personalities that fit best within that specific corporate or startup environment. But fourth, the final step is to begin writing. Now that you've nailed your story, your content, and your tone, your style, you are ready to begin writing and drafting your first cover letter. And if you've already written your cover letter, or if you're screaming at your laptop screen looking at the 100th iteration of your cover letter, then it's time to hop on to the next section of this video where we get to our cover letter checklist. As you examine your cover letter, keep these best practices in mind. The first one here, writing an original letter, is the most important one because, as I've alluded previously in my video today, people often send in copy-paste cover letters, and these cover letters never make the cut. If they're even read, they're frequently tossed in the trash can because the recruiters know that this person could have easily sent the same generic letter to a couple dozen, if not 100 other companies. If you really want to stand out and if you want to get your application noticed, you unfortunately will have to write a unique custom cover letter and resume for every single job role you apply to. It's tough work, but if you follow the best practices I've outlined in both this video and my resume video, by the time you've created your master doc and you've taken all the steps necessary to build that initial intellectual infrastructure, you will be able to create bespoke resumes and cover letters in a matter of minutes. Now, for the purpose of time, I'm not going to be going over every single bullet point and every single checklist item in my cover letter checklist, so please feel free to check out my slides or my Substack to get a more in-depth read. With that said, let's hop on to the anti-cover letter checklist, or things to not do. Here, there are 6 things that you definitely should not do when it comes to writing and sending your cover letter. And of course, if you have any questions about cover letters, or if you'd like me to review them, please, by all means, send me a DM over LinkedIn or email through Gmail, and I'd be more than happy to check it out and help you. Getting a second, third, fourth, 10th pair of eyes to look at your cover letter is always really helpful, especially from a mentor, and even more so from a person who actually works at the firm and could give you the inside scoop on what the recruiters and the team is looking for when assessing resumes and cover letters. Every company is different, and they may be looking for different things. And by understanding the specificities and nuances from company to company, through your network and connections within, you'll be able to craft custom killer cover letters that much more easily. And so with that, hopefully you have a better understanding of how to craft that killer cover letter and really make yourself stand out from the crowd. As always, if you're seeing something that you're not seeing that you want to learn more about, please let me know in the comment section below or DM me on email or LinkedIn or Instagram. Thank you so much again, and I hope you stay healthy and happy in these COVIDious times.